Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, desolators, peasants, vassals, mi hermanos español. Today, I am a useful idiot, and tomorrow I will be too. So anyway, today I want to talk about Spain, and I want to talk about Spain in the context of a series I'm going to do about European countries that are in a depression. And previously, I've done very long videos about the Eurozone circle jerk. And I had planned on doing an update recently and decided against doing one long one. And we'll do a series on each country. And the reason why I characterize the current state of these countries, including Spain, as a depression is because let's just cut through the bullshit government numbers. Let's just cut through the bullshit economic numbers. We know that everybody across the globe fudges all their numbers. So we can't count on the numbers. And that said, even the numbers that are coming out of Spain are extremely gruesome. So the fact that they're cooking them and that they're actually way worse than they are makes me pretty comfortable saying that they can quibble all they want about recessions, but Spain is in a depression. Let's make that clear. Let's go through some of the numbers so that we know how Spain is in a depression. And we'll cover just some of the more recent developments. Of course, one of the main stories right now is the fact that the Spanish government is crumbling. And we have a full-blown scandal on our hands going on with Rajoy under investigation, indictment for taking bribes. And so anyway, this could exacerbate the situation there considerably, of course. And the ruling party in a slush fund scandal. Premier Rajoy accepted illegal payments as a minister. 35 payments, 322,000 euros. So that's what's making the headlines right now. But the headlines for me will always be the fact that we have a depression in Spain. They have massive mortgage debt. Household debt is 848 billion euros. That's just household debt. 77% of that is mortgage debt in a country where the entire real estate industry has collapsed. In fact, home prices are down 70% from what they were at their highs. And there are 2 million unsold homes in Spain right now. And then on top of that, there's a capital flight. So we have $94 billion withdrawn from Spanish banks just last year alone, 7% of GDP. So we have human flight, capital flight, all leaving Spain, because there is a depression there. We have a loan default rate of 11%, 11.23% in Spain. A construction default rate of 26.4%. We have a credit plunge of 5%. There's 189 billion euros of loans that are non-performing. And we just had unemployment jump from 23% to 26.6%. So for the Spanish people, they know there's a depression because they have a 26% unemployment rate. Home prices have dropped 55% since 2008, and like I say, they added another 20% more expected. So 75% decline in mortgage prices. What do you think that does to the worth of all these assets and loans held in Eurozone banks, particularly Spanish banks? And we've seen the results of that with Bankia and its collapse and its nationalization. And then we have the same problem with the new bad bank that they created in Spain, the Sarab Bank. And they have plans to unload 45,000 distressed properties in 5 years. And their immediate goal is to unload and sell 7,500 of them in 2013. And yet, between January, March, April, May, the last 4 months since this program was started, they've sold 700. That's right, 700. So their goal for the year is 7,500. And they think they're going to unload 45,000 of these distressed properties in 5 years, and yet they've only managed to sell 700 so far. And there are 400,000 real estate assets. Tens of thousands of properties have no address. Upwards of 150 loans have the same collateral. So this is a another real estate debacle on top of the real estate debacle. So not only do we have the bubble burst, but we have 150,000 loans have the same collateral, and tens of thousands of properties don't even have an address. If they can't even locate these properties, how can they consider them assets? And so 400,000 real estate assets, and they've only sold 700 so far. 400,000 that they need to unload eventually. So good luck with that. And it costs 1.7 billion euros a year just to operate this bad bank, and it's full of worthless assets. So it's actually costing more than what they will certainly make off this bank. And when I mentioned the unemployment rate is 26%, that's not including the fact that youth unemployment rate is now 56% in Spain. How could anybody say that it's not a depression when there's a youth unemployment of 56%? And of course, we see this high youth unemployment rate around the world, and especially in the Eurozone, and that's just asking for trouble. And on top of that, I think the youth unemployment, to me, is the pivot point of globalization. It seems only natural that there would be a point where wages have to start reversing, going the other direction, and there's going to have to be a whole generation of a workforce lost in this pivot in globalization. Youth unemployment is a symptom of that, of turning back the hands of time and making wages go the other direction. So anyway, let's get back to Spain, the gruesome details. Retail sales have plunged 11% year over year, so they're not going to have a consumer-generated recovery in Spain, and just another indication that we have a depression going on. And yet, on top of that, they have this value-added tax, and that's something that's going to hurt all the European countries that adopt this VAT tax, especially when they have retail sales plunging anyway, and people can't afford things anyway. Tax revenues have dropped 7% year over year. Since 2011, tax revenues have plunged a total of 58%. So you have this bloated bureaucracy in Spain and in the Eurozone, just like we have in all the other countries, and yet their tax revenues have plunged 58%. And somehow they're going to have to continue borrowing to prop up all the bureaucrats. And when Spain merges its troubled banks, it typically swaps out depositor savings for shares in the new banks. And so people talked about Cyprus, but we've already had examples of appropriations of funds, confiscation of funds. And one example of that certainly is the Spain merging its troubled banks and swapping out people's deposits and their savings for shares in the new bank. And then the new bank tanks, like Bankia. The Bankia collapse was so egregious that former depositors at 7 other banks lost everything. And the debt to GDP in 2007 was 39%. In a matter of 4 years, it's jumped up to 69%. So Spain's debt continues to compound. They're going to end up like Greece before this is all over. Business bankruptcies are up 50% year over year, and so their retail sector is collapsing. Their export sector is collapsing. Unemployment is going through the ceiling, and the cost of unemployment benefits just keeps adding to the problem too. When you have a 26% rate of unemployment overall, and as a matter of fact, their Social Security fund has run out of money as well. The reserves drawn on for the first time in Spanish history, using it almost entirely. So the Social Security fund also, the collateral that they have, that they used all this money up on, is money invested in Spanish sovereign debt to the tune of 67 billion euros. So the Social Security fund is not only emptied now, but what assets it does have are going to end up worthless because they have 67 billion euros of Spanish sovereign debt. So that's not good either. And so there we have a snapshot of what's going on. And that's not including just the entire collapse of the banking industry there. So, like I say, we have Spain's bad bank, Sarab, and they are going to be unloading employees, and just like all the other banks in Spain, and with the closing of these banks, we're going to see lots more pain, the unemployment rate go up. As a matter of fact, there's going to be 20,000 layoffs at banks, with 40% pay cuts for those who stay on the payroll, and that adds to the previous 30,000 people lost in the banking industry. And so anyway, this is Spain in a slow motion collapse. This is Spain in a depression. And the icing on the cake, the thing I want to finish with about Spain and why I know they're in a depression is because German Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble came out and said that, quote, Spain has made enormous progress in recent years under Mariano Rajoy, so much so that Spain now has a strong economy, reduced labor costs, has significantly increased its exports, and has done a good job restructuring its banking sector, unquote. So the fact that he said that pretty much confirms for us that it's all untrue, and therefore there is where the truth lies, the exact opposite of what we're hearing from Eurozone officials. So there's my first installment in Eurozone Depressions. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too. And remember, if I agreed with you, then we'd both be wrong.